All right, so this is Biff. How you doing? Today we're gonna get started on some body work. Don't know how far along we'll get. It's probably not gonna go as far as we'd like it to, but we've started getting a lot of the sheet metal pieces that are gonna be used to rebuild this inner fender here, kind of the outer rail there. And so we've got to start pulling away body stuff, bumper, quarter panel, all this twisted up metal that we have in here, and see what we got to work with. So nice and new, and not like Swisher Sweets in vape. I'm kidding. I know there's been Swisher Sweets and vape all over up in here.
Because I never knew it was my imagination. I never wanted to say what I said, I just wanted an explanation.
Bolted on and spot welded. Just to be sure, when you're making your car out of tinfoil, you want to make sure you fasten it in multiple ways. Alright, I guess I'll start on the easy part and just start easier. Start pulling out this little chunk first. Been a busy couple of weeks. It is the holiday season, and so I had to do a business trip. I think since in the last 2 weeks I've been to 9 or 10 different functions. Including last night where we had to host. What I'm doing today is getting back into starting to pull this apart. I think what I'm going to try to do here is I've already ordered this big triangular piece here because when I pulled off the end of it from in here and try to fit it to this, you know, it's banged up, and I think I just want to start fresh with some good metal in here. To get a good solid aligned foundation going for the rest of the work moving forward. So anyway, we'll get in here, grind a couple welds off, drill out some of these. Whenever you drill these out, you know, whatever the top surface is gets the big hole. So it's essentially like a hole saw. So that these two pieces now can come apart because the welded material still stays there. It's a little hump, and the part out here is not welded, so they should be separate. Problem is, like I say, it leaves that little hump in there. And then when it comes time to try to slide something out, it won't slide because it catches on that hump in there. The whole point of that is to keep the back surface intact, so that when you remove the front surface, you can just grind off those high spots, and then when you put the new front surface on, you know, you'll be able to weld right there within that hole, or create a hole there and weld within it to the metal that's on the backside. When the piece of metal that I'm getting rid of is on the backside, then it might be easier, rather than using the hole saw, just to drill all the way through the whole thing and completely drill out the spot weld, one big hole right through, all the way through this, it'll do two things for me. Number one, it doesn't matter that I'm drilling through this, because when I put the new piece in, I'll be able to weld to it from inside this big hole up here. And the other thing is, there won't be that lip or that hump inside there that prevents me from being able to pull this piece out once I have freed it up from its welds. So this is working better than most. I finally found a good drill bit. Just drilling down through the top layer, and then I hear it pop when it comes loose. So looking better, making progress. Oh, there you go. Ta-da! The piece of this structure comes up into here, has a couple of overlaps here, so there's a few. About 4 spot welds here I gotta get out. I'm gonna be able to get everything a lot easier now. A few to get out right here that I drill from under here. I've got 1, 2, 3 in here, it looks like. The ones here that we've already gotten. And then it looks like a couple more in here. 1, 2, 3 going into this inner piece here. So one thing that's been totally different about working this is you know, the spot weld bit that you get from Harbor Freight works pretty good. Wallers out a pretty big hole, but that's okay. The main issue with it is I'm working on like thick steel. You know, it's not hardened steel or anything, but it is thick. I'm working through essentially what amounts to frame components, and which is a little bit different than just drilling the sheet metal of you know, for body panels. That thing will work great, get through those no problem. This, you know, I'm running into problems with, even with my drill bits, of it doesn't take much to chip an edge on one of them, and then all of a sudden your sharp drill bit's not doing crap for you anymore. So what I've found, the best thing that's been working for me is just you know, changing around my drill bits, trying to find the right one. These have like a little bit of a pilot bit in them to get started into the metal before it gets going on to the wider flange here to really cut. But the bit's really about the size of the spot weld, and so mostly I've just been drilling through them, and then, like I say, stopping short. If it'll pop, I can stop short without actually going through the backing material. So I'll get you in here a little bit here and show you now with that explanation, maybe a little bit more of what I'm doing that might make a little more sense. Drill through them until they popped. You can see it leaves a little bit of an indentation here, but I've got, instead of material sticking up, I've got, you know, the absence of material, but that's okay. There's still metal here, and whenever I weld the new panel on there, it'll easily be able to fill into those spots. I've been working on getting the all the different spot welds out, and now I'm able to kind of fold this thing down and get to some of the other holes here that I couldn't get to drill. This is sacrificial. This is the piece that's coming off. It's already toast, so I can bend it away from the pieces that aren't sacrificial, the ones that have to stay behind, and not damage them. So I've been working this around pretty good, getting in here to try to get some of the final holes up in here that had to be drilled for the spot welds. A couple that I didn't know about, so I'd open this up, get in there with a long reach bit, and then come back out. And so now I'm really to the point here where I'm starting to separate this apart. So. What's hanging on? Oh, we got it. That's just that spot weld. Victory is mine. Okay, so I really don't know what the problem is. This one looks pretty good, you know what I'm saying? Okay, maybe not. Trash. And so I have to do a little bit of straightening here and get this stuff kind of, this sheet metal here that comes off of this thing's stout, but it's got the sheet metal pieces here that form the shape, and this has obviously been bent up a little bit, both in the wreck and by me manhandling it, but mostly in the wreck.
I never wanna say what
I think that's going to be a wrap for today. Tried to go get some more argon from my welder, and they were already closed today. They closed at noon, so we'll try to get in there this week and see if we can get some argon. Maybe start getting this stuff once I get this piece. It'll be good timing because I'm still waiting on this piece here. I have been giving some thought to airbags. Obviously, that's one of the main reasons that a car gets totaled out. Is because, I mean, just pricing the airbags alone on this car, because the two curtains, the knee airbag, the driver's airbag and the passenger airbag is about $2,500 from Subaru, and that's not including the sensors. I got to do a little bit of research. Let me know if you know how the sensors work. If they are I heard somebody say that they have a little bit of glass in them, that if it shatters, that's what makes the bags deploy. So obviously I don't want to put a new airbag in there and turn, put power to it just to have it blow again, because it senses that it's in a crash. So the sensors are about 75 bucks a piece also, and there's about 6 or 8 of them. So that's probably just what I'll do, is just go ahead and replace all those at the same time. But the reason I'm talking about that is because when it comes time to do the windshield, I've pretty much decided that I'm going to go ahead and when the windshield is out, go ahead and replace the dash, because it's got the split anyway from the airbag popping. So go ahead and replace the passenger airbag and the whole dash pad across the top. That way that gets it back to looking good. Has that airbag taken care of. The hardest one to get to, which will be much easier with the windshield out. All the others I can do later. Okay guys. So depending on the order I've put these together, whether it's this could be days or weeks since you last saw us working on this, or I don't know, I've posted some videos in between. I've done a little bit of work here and there, but the time has finally come for us to try to get this front end piece back together. I'm really looking forward to it. As an old STI guy, I'm not vaping, but I am going to enjoy this cigar here while I do a little bit of work. Now, as I've gone through and I've marked several places on this component where, the holes that I would need to drill, because I'm going to have to weld from inside here to those points on the car. And once I drill those holes out, I can weld into there. I can weld into the shock tower right there. The 3 places where it had been tacked before. There will be a couple right here, but I can get to them from this side, so therefore no need to drill. Instead, I'll just tack these from the outside here to my structural component. As with all of these, just weld them straight up to the piece. You last saw me doing a little bit of sanding on this, or I'm sorry, priming, but that's just so that I could cover some of the spots that I don't want just being totally exposed and rusting. So since then I took my rat file and just kind of went into the holes and kind of cleaned them out a little bit, just to get some bare metal in there. I want bare metal in there to give the weld something to get onto without getting too contaminated or whatever contaminants in the weld. And then I also went around and I've been fitting it up here and checking where the different spots are going to be coming through. Up here, right here, behind here, through here. Those are already good. But these spots where I'm going to be welding through other material onto this. So the holes are where I'm going to be welding through this onto other material, and then this, where the holes are here and I'm going to be welding onto this, I've since sanded them to get good contact with the weld. So now I'm just going to do some paint prep and clean it up a little bit. So kind of to measure the height of this to the ground. Rolled the car, I put the wheel back on, rolled it back and forth a couple times to let it settle. I want to measure the height of this to the ground, so I make sure that I'm getting the right pitch on this. It seems fairly obvious when I've got it jammed in here, but I had to do a little bit of straightening of the metal up front and underneath here. The back side, if you will, of where the fuse box and that sheet metal got all crumpled in. And again, remember, this was my crumple zone right here. This was my crumple spot. So this did take a little of it on the thinner metal. The actual shock tower, which is the thicker metal, appears pretty rock solid, not to have moved. So my plan will be to get this height-wise confirmed, tack some of these top ones here, the welds I can get to a little bit, and then get the tire off so I can get in here and get to the bottom pieces of the sheet metal that come in and support that from underneath. Again, still mostly this thinner sheet metal from the front that comes up there. Okay, so here's the setup. We've got the measurements done. I measured on the other side there from the mounting point of the hood up to the curvature of where I took my measurement over there, straight down to the bottom, 19 inches forward, 29.5 inches to the floor. Set it right now on a thinner gauge. This top stuff is pretty thin, even though the bottom stuff is thicker. Before, I had it set for about 1/8 of an inch, which would be good kind of for those frame structural pieces. Now I got it set up for 16 gauge, which is about half that thickness. It's still giving me enough power to get into the thicker stuff here, really, which is only about 1/16 of an inch itself. But the pieces here, when they're all sandwiched up, they're closer to that 1/8 inch. Now I've dialed it back a little bit, going into the 16 inch stuff through some of the really, really thin sheet metal. Okay, so here's what we got so far. You can see the holes there that I've welded into there on the top, and then there's the thinner metal that I was hitting, tacking to this underneath. Little one from the front. This big one on the edge isn't the prettiest, but boy, some of these have really, see if I can get them focused here. They have just really nice pools down in there, and with that 220 welder, it really puts the power to it. So we're looking good. Time to raise it up, get the tire off, start beating around some of this stuff to get it flush again. Got everything welded in, a bit of paint on there to keep anything from rusting, and next is going to be battery box stuff. But for now, really happy with how this is turning out. Ready to close this gap here and go back to being a real Subaru. So a lot of fun with the welder today. It's learned a couple things on it with the argon, having it turned up too much and then bringing it back down. I think I've still got enough to complete the job. I still need to do the piece that goes around the front and the battery box and some supports on that, it'll be plenty to get me through that. So finally, we have gotten some structural stuff replaced and welded, and that's going to be it. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you later. Have a Merry Christmas. See you.